Hey guys, it's Shadow. This is episode 3 of my 1k to 1k4 series, and this time we'll be focusing on scouting. This guide will have pertinent tips for all maps, but a lot of the specifics will be for Arabia. The basics of scouting your own map are to find all your starting resources in a timely manner. For Arabia, this means finding all herdables, both boars, your berries, deer, as well as your main and secondary gold and stone. Your main gold has 7 tiles, main stone has 5, and all secondary golds and stones have 4 tiles in them. I recommend doing a little sheep scouting in order to scout your base more effectively with 2 out of the 4 starting sheep. Make sure you task them back to the TC so you don't run out of food at home though. Being able to read your own map means that you'll also be able to read your opponent's map. When you see a 7 tile of gold, a 5 tile of stone, or some berries, you know you're getting close to your opponent's base. I recommend scouting from the edge of the map and sticking close to wood lines when scouting in the early game in order to avoid running into the TC. One of my favourite additions in Definitive Edition was being able to use waypoints for units, which can be quite useful for scouting initially. However, when you suspect that you are close to your opponent's base, I do not recommend using waypoint scouting as you are more likely to end up going into the TC, or getting trapped by a more savvy opponent. It is one thing to be able to scout your own and your opponent's base, but another to know what to do with this information. For example, if you scout that your opponent has 2 golds in one area, you may consider adding a tower or a castle to deny both of them, especially when your opponent has walled out their 3rd gold. On the other hand, if your map is particularly bad and hard to wall, you may need to play more aggressively to make it hard for your opponent to capitalize off of this. Additionally, you need to proactively scout and re-scout your opponent's base in order to counter their strategy. For example, if you see your opponent dropping 2 archery ranges early in Feudal Age, you can assume your opponent is most likely going to be making archers, so going for at least 1 range of skirmishers in this situation is highly recommended. 2 stables in early Castle Age hints that your opponent is likely going for knights, so you will need to prepare a counter unit for it, for example pikes, camels or monks. Just scouting your opponent's base and not re-scouting it after Dark Age will cause you to struggle to counter your opponent as quickly and effectively as others as you go up in rank. One of the most underrated buildings in average to intermediate ELO is the Humble Outpost. It is important to get Town Watch for them to be particularly effective. When ahead, adding outposts to the front of your opponent's base will allow you to see if they're attempting to expand elsewhere, counter your opponent's strategy before they're able to execute it, or realize when it may be time to fall back until you have an army composition which can deal with your opponents. When behind, they're able to scout your opponent going aggressive before they're able to reach your base, giving you more time to react and prepare. This is particularly important if you have a lot of vulnerable eco, such as farms not near your town centres or castles. Even when ahead, placing some defensive outposts can be extremely valuable if your opponent starts trying to flood light cavalry or other units into your economy. In the Imperial Age, it is extremely important to scout for neutral stones and golds if they are not already found, so that you have an idea where your opponent may expand or where you will need to expand. These extra resources often determine the outcome of games that go to post-Imperial Age. You will want to raid enemy villages in these areas to continually deny resources. Once you have map control, it is almost always ideal to split a couple of units off to the sides of your opponent's base to prevent expansion and to get more scouting information. Ideally these will be trash units, and in particular the Scout Cavalry line are good for this. I hope this video has helped you with scouting and how to use this information effectively. The next video will be focusing on walling, in particular during the Dark Age. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with this series. Thanks for watching.